Hi, welcome. This is Phyllis. I'm just waiting a few more minutes for the rest of the guests to arrive, and we will start. And I'm not going to take up too much of your time. This is just a brief chat. I didn't have another um, way of contacting and reaching out, so I sent out some blasts this morning. So it's about we'll wait another 5 or 10 minutes and for folks to arrive and check in, and then we'll start with the presentation. But again, this is a celebration of our History Month, Black History Month. Everyone's history matters, but this is a particular moment to celebrate what I'm experiencing every day of my life, which has been a few years, but it was started by Carter Woodson. We had a great meeting this morning with another group of community service college educated women. So I invited folks, and I'm glad that we can do this. It's recorded and it will be available later, posted on my website. So just go to phyllis'ssecondwind.com, which is my 501c3 for education and community. And again, when I started my doctoral studies, just for a brief chat, in 2012, I made a pledge and promise that I waited this long to do this work and I want to put it to work immediately. So I began my publishing. I began reaching out. I continued teaching at 3 universities at one point at the same time. Then I had to cut back on that so I could do more writing. So I want to thank my hosts, including the Getty Research Center, the City of Hope, UCLA, many libraries. They have over 20 libraries, all the conferences and everything that allowed me to get to this point. And the journey continues because I'm at the point where I've published and I'm involved now in my nonprofit as well as sharing the research and results that I found. So I'm going to step away for a minute, grab a few of my resources, and we'll start in about a minute. It's 4 minutes after. We'll wait perhaps another 6 minutes, and in the meantime, just enjoy your lag time. And I'm not sure if you can pick up this music, but I'll be back in a minute. I'm going to grab a few more of my material. Okay, I'm back. I'm in the waiting room and then we'll dive right in. And hopefully it won't take more than about a half hour or 40 minutes because everyone has a very busy schedule. And I have someone on the line who wants to get in. So let me go ahead and give him that access. One moment. give everyone a few more minutes. Well, let's see. We have someone who's trying to get in, so let me help them out. Hold on, bear with me. Okay, they're slowly coming in, so let's see what I can do to help speed up the process. We still have a couple more minutes. But there's a lot going on. There's a lot of exciting stuff going on, so I want to just send out a few more invitation links to make sure that folks get the word. So bear with me. So I know it's been a busy month. Everyone's doing things virtually, and I see a lot of folks out. I know Rams won the Super Bowl, and that was a huge activity. So let me send out this message, and then we'll jump right into the presentation. One moment. And this technology is always interesting. So we're down at the 10-minute mark, and we'll give it a few more seconds. I want to send in this link so our guests can gain access again. Just then we'll start and keep rolling. So you can see in the background I have my logo. I spent a lot of time on my website, and I want you to browse it. We're getting a virtual tour together, but I keep coming up with more information. But we're getting there. It's a big job, but there's a lot of information. We had quite a few events, so I want to make sure this gentleman gets the information so he can log in too. Okay, I don't see any folks in the waiting room, and we'll just get rolling with this now. So, this is sort of an informal chat just to again share our celebration of culture, awareness. A lot of us in all various communities need to be aware of things, and that's why we call it the grown folks woke, because Cicely Lewis, I always want to give credit where credit's due. She's a hardworking school librarian who deals mostly with high school, the youth. So she developed this very extensive and well recognized program to encourage reading that's relevant and reflects our current issues, current matters. And she gives somewhat of a guideline and recommendations on what we can do locally, as well as nationally, as well as internationally, to come up with our own local woke reading series, list of books, list of readings that are somewhat counter to what I found in the library when I did my research. I've sat looked at the library here in our local cities. I've looked at the libraries at several academic institutions, so-called Ivy League, including Swarthmore, Harvard, etc. And I found books such as Uncle Tom's Cabin, Adventures of Sambo, Charlie Chan at the Opera, and more. And Tarzan and Jane, I have to make sure we don't leave out the gender equity issues. Meet Tarzan, you Jane. That's a paraphrase of the title. So I think some of these library collections in our 100,000 libraries in the United States need upgrade and relevancy so as not to insult readers' intelligence as well as reflect more of what our population is now. It's not all vanilla, as I always mention to my son. When we went to 31 flavors, we're not in a vanilla world. There's a lot of different choices, so it's good to be aware of that. So that's why Cecily, I applaud her. I did a little research because she said she was inspired by Essence magazine. So browse the website and you'll see that Essence had a series on woke reading as well, and I included the links on the website of several Hollywood folks who also explain and define what is woke reading. So let's move forward. Here's the agenda. Welcome, our history, our cultures, everything matters, and more, including our climate and environment, because my nonprofit named Second Wind is based on wind energy, solar energy, alternate fuel, because we have to do something or we're all in peril. There's only one earth, and what I want to do is make sure it's here while I'm here, as well as for our future. So, why? This explains why we're doing this, some definitions, some real important stuff, because much of it was not studied in school. So, first, let's look at the moving blocks. There's always some movement, there's always something going on, and I want to make sure we can share this information over your chat, coffee table, some things to think about so that it won't hit you like a wave at the beach or to a tsunami, as I once spoke with a gentleman at the beginning of this pandemic. It's like a tsunami, everything's being hit, and it seems like things have been slowly digging out. I hear announcements that the pandemic data is improving, but I'll wait and see, because one doctor actually made a pronouncement that he expected the variations of COVID-19 to last at least 8 years. So we'll see. I'm still in the wait and see mode, but vaccinations, boosters, and staying aware through the local resources as well as the Center for Disease Control and WHO are highly recommended. So why are we doing it? Again, it's for ourselves. You see my cursor, and then for our future. That's an image of the future. So what I want to share with you are some of these links. I did a quick search. I want to pull up this information. And then also, what are we talking about? Because I did another search and I found that basically this Black History celebration is not well known in some places, and it's sometimes a surprise. So let's pull up this one link and see what we can decipher from it quickly. I'm watching the clock, so I want to make sure we wrap things up on a timely basis and keep things moving. So let's pull this one up just to make sure our themes and our information makes sense and we're sticking to the agenda. So this is our first of many, and we'll do this, insert it here and see what happens. And I notice with all of us, there's some technology issues, but we'll deal with this. So, why are we doing this? I want to play a quick musical prelude just to remind us that we have to be aware, show respect, and love. So, this is a celebration. And I want us to keep moving. So, sing along or move along, dance if you want to. Okay, and I want to make sure that all the credit is due to given to people that I and the resources that I include in the presentation. So again, we'll pause and get back to the agenda because we want to uplift all. They say all boats must rise, and that's the theme of the work I do. It's about including everyone. So as I mentioned, we want to talk about why we're doing this. It's about history, culture, everything matters. So let's go back to this part here. If you follow my white cursor, you'll see we're just on bullet point number 2. Why we're doing this, as I said, the cultural celebration was started by Carter, but our families and our communities have celebrated things like this and our unity and identity for years. I know my family from the Gulf Coast, we We celebrate Mardi Gras. We have food and other traditions that make things special. But as I mentioned, a lot of people don't even know what Black History Month is all about. So let me just show this because, as I mentioned on my website, I'm a former U.S. Foreign Service officer who worked for the Agency for International Development, which is part of the Department of State. So I went into the State Department every day. I still have international focus. So let's listen to this. What is Black History Month around the world? Because it's important and it matters. And we have to tell people, what is America to you? And I'm going to pause because as a Foreign Service officer, when you're planning your career, one must be aware of the fact if your child is not in the country of origin, as this individual said, they may be ignorant or not fully aware of what's going on in the country, the culture, locally, and how it fits in wherever they are. So let me finish this quick video. She, Dee Dee's in Canada.
Can't see the video.
And Jazzy's in Vietnam. Yes.
I can't see the video.
You can't see the video?
No.
Okay, let me fix that. Is that better, Armin?
No, I just see the picture of the six ladies.
You can
It's
see the ladies, the
now
video?
the PowerPoint.
Okay, that's coming next. We're watching the video. Can you see that now?
No.
No. Okay. Well, we better fix that. Hold on. Well, we're recording, so I'll be sure to send you the recording and I'll try to fix it in the
Okay.
meantime. Thank you. Okay, so we'll cut this now after this little blurb. How do you celebrate? Now, Carnival and Mardi Gras in New Orleans, similar. Mhm. All right, we want to respect the time. And as I said, I'm recording. So when we get through this, I'll make sure that the recording's available. Thank you for joining me. We are quickly going through just to remind folks that cultures and people, all cultures, all people matter, and it's a global celebration. So you might have caught my video that I posted, which was a science experiment, and it had to do with ethylene gas being used to ripen some avocados. So it turned out just fine. What I did was, this was part of the of what I did in my book titled Steam Shorts and Anthology. And the important part of that is science matters. I remember my mother would always complain to me that the vegetables in the store don't taste right. And I didn't quite get it. She grew up on a farm, and she's right. After going through this experiment, I had some very, very hard avocados, and I discovered that if you place them in a bag with with the apples and bananas and let them sit for 3 days, they ripen. And I'll play this again quickly because science, STEAM, and climate matters. And what I want to do also is show you um, the videos on YouTube. We'll play this quickly just as a refresher because this is not only just about science, it's about culture, history, and there's some very interesting scientific achievements that are as far as patents and innovation in the Black community and other people of color that have not been recognized. For example, Charles Drew. Do you know what he's famous for? I'm going to name a few names. Can you name who invented the traffic light? So these are things to remember, very important things to remember. And I won't repeat these things, but as part of our history celebration, it's something to think about. So let's get this quickly going and see if we can refresh the memory because what I'm doing is, as I go through this, if you feel inclined, you can donate. I'm looking for corporate sponsors, and I used some real examples on how to demonstrate the value and the benefit of a sponsorship. It's for education, it's for moving our community and our education paths forward. And eventually, as they're saying at Expo 2020, we should all improve in the process. So let's pull this one up quickly. We're having quite a few different wind is the name of second wind is the name of my 501c3. And what I want to also mention is that this is if you don't know, we're having the big weekend. The NBA All Stars, I've worked with them in the past when they had it locally, but this is a big deal as far as the All Stars game. So let's get the science experiment because what I'm trying to do is show how we can be relevant and this is somewhat tongue in cheek, but yes, Amazon. Okay, so these are just some ideas. I'm working with another team of consultants that have been in the business of sponsorships and partnerships for years. So that's an idea, a hint to reach out to the avocado growers. I hear that there are some changes that are in the supply chains. I heard the other day they might cut off the imports of avocados, but I think they worked that out. And as an international trade specialist, when I worked in Washington, D.C., the agricultural sector was one of the big areas that we worked on to protect their interests in terms of international trade. Automotive, textiles, shoes, as well as semiconductors. So we had another great presentation by an anesthesiologist. Again, climate change, science matters. And he made a very insightful comment about the effect on the climate and the environment of the chemicals used in anesthesiology. So I want to give you a quick touchstone on this. This is the National Medical Association. So I want to pause and add my comments because if one is not aware of it, we had Jim Crow throughout this country. I was born when Jim Crow was in effect by law. And so oftentimes there were no physicians. My sister and my brother were born at my grandmother's house by a midwife because there weren't any doctors available. Hospitals were segregated. And again, these physicians had to go through so many barriers. One was even joining their medical association. So one was created. It exists today, National Medical Association. So again, I want to honor this organization because I attended their conference in 2021. I've done my PhD research since 2012 by talking to first-hand subject matter experts. These are the examples, and I want to continue because without NMA answering my questions, they had experts who could answer questions that were nagging me since for many years, since my son was born. So let's continue, but we won't belabor this point. Again, thank you, NMA. I don't know. This is Dr. McAdoo. Okay, I'm going to scroll forward. Hopefully, they'll touch on some of the environmental issues because it was a shock to me just the fact that these experts took the time to note that not only are you losing your consciousness, going through different levels of reality, but the chemicals and the gases that are being used affect not only you, the patient, but it's an environmental issue. And I'm not sure if they're going to cover it here, but it was eye-opening. I see that the technical issues. Okay. Okay, well, cut. Again, I'm honoring the culture, our accomplishments, our contributions to reach this stage in our society of all people. And oftentimes it's not acknowledged that without, again, the doctors paying attention, doing well, the experts, we wouldn't be alive. And I mentioned that in my book called Shorts, a STEAM Anthology on page 30. I mentioned that only 22% of the science, technology, engineering, and math workers are women. 12% are engineers. Only 12% of the total engineers are women. And I ask the question why. Some of us may or may not know the answers. But again, the data is included in this book of short stories that I published, and it's selling quite a bit on Amazon. So let's keep moving forward. As I said, we want to move forward. We want to make sure we cover the high points because it's not just about reading, it's about moving forward and adding to the conversation. So, another quick break if you want to stand up, take a stretch break, and move along with this one. Feel free to because I think it's time to take a stretch. I'm watching the clock. Hopefully, you know, another few more minutes. And you ask yourself, are we in a parallel universe? We don't want to repeat our mistakes. We want to learn, but keep moving, blood circulating. We've taken 42 minutes. I'll take another 5 minutes or so. Then we'll wrap things up. And we want to leave you with a lot of things to think about. Make sure you exercise, keep the blood moving. And I'm trying to stay out of the way of the doctors. Keep moving and keep your mind thinking, flowing. There's a great movie. Hopefully, we'll use that in the next series called A Time to Heal. The things that we went through during Jim Crow. All right, we'll cut. But quickly, I want to share that I learned. I, as a child, grew up in California and wasn't really aware of things. And I'm still being woke up, especially when I learned that blood was segregated in Jim Crow. Now, people who know, they'd say, of course, everything else was segregated. But when I saw a video by a Hawaiian representative, congressional representative, World War II veteran. He said he was shot, nearly bled to death, and the only way he was saved in the transfusion was when he was given black blood. Now, we'll leave it at that, but we've made some changes, and I think that's one of the changes to be thankful for. But blood, plasma, transfusions can be life saving. But again, during Jim Crow, I understand it was segregated, and there was white and black blood, period. Okay, let's keep moving. We have the train. The whole point of this, I call it the grown folks woke reading and literacy presentation, is to help our audience think. Ask your students, your teachers, your readers, what do you think is important in your neighborhood? What I think is important here, you might not think is very important there. So I'm back on screen and I want to go through this. Think about your demographics. My audience consists of adults, mostly here locally, but also globally as a Foreign Service officer. And I have clients around the world, including India, Europe, and I'm expanding more. So my book I mentioned is called Shorts, Esteemed Anthology. I just want to show you the cover. I read a few pages from that. That's part of this work series you read. I read from my book. So think about what books, how do they reflect your local viewpoints now? Uncle Tom's Cabin, in my opinion, it doesn't reflect too much of what I want is as far as positive learning. So think about it. Think about what other cultures we have now compared to when the libraries were built. Many are over 100 years ago. Do a diversity audit of your local collections. How many books do you have or aware of that have African American or whatever your ethnic background is? Think about it. So, local budget matters here in the city include the fact that we have a budget deficit. Now, the money is from taxpayers, it goes for transportation, it goes from the convention center, it goes towards government payroll. But I discovered we have a deficit projected over the next 5 years. But I've located a summary of local salaries, and I don't see any adjustment in the salaries despite COVID. The salary of the city manager listed here, he's no longer employed, $300,671 base salary. An additional benefit of $42,000, a total base salary of $352,000. Yet the city says we have a deficit. The total salary with additional benefits, 124,000, brings the salary of the city manager to $477,445. So those of you that don't know, I have an MBA with a double major in international business and finance. I did city audits. I'm taking a water break. My local city, as well as 89 others, were part of a contract. So it's one of my local matters that Second Wind looks into. The city manager's salary, the city battalion $182,000 with additional benefits, bumps it up to $323,000, and additional benefits of $423,000 for the city battalion chief. The other one I'll quote is the city attorney's salary also is listed. So it might be worthwhile as taxpayers and as we see the expenditure of funds during COVID-19 as we work at home, what changes have been made in salaries. We know we've been locked up in our homes, benefits are cut. But again, that's a talking point. Those are local concerns. And as I mentioned, to do the process of woke reading, find relevant readings for you and my customers who are around the world. Think about water, the availability of water, as well as the environment and personal climate matters. I mentioned the anesthesiologist, that if you go in the hospital and you are treated by an anesthesiologist, you look for competency, but you can also think about the overall impact on the environment. So there's so-called green anesthesiology that I learned about thanks to the NMA. another sip of water because, again, just to remind folks, listeners, these were the physicians that they mentioned at the beginning. They encourage and they're looking for more people of color to become physicians. I have friends that actually went to Cuba for medical school because they offer free medical training. They could not be admitted here in the United States. So NMA emphasized that they help people who are admitted to medical school. Their grades may not be the A, triple A, quadruple A plus plus, but he said with a little bit of mentorship, they become excellent physicians. And I've seen that firsthand by attending the conference and be asking a question that's bugged me for over many, many years. So again, in honor of my doctoral studies, I added some scholarly citations. And I'll include this. We have a woke reading listing of relevant sources. So the first one I found is Offield, publisher's name, the author's name, the title School Librarians to Admire Cicely Lewis Models Responsive Librarianship 2021, current, published in the Journal of Librarian Administration. The second scholarly reference, and that was a requirement for my doctoral studies, and that's important because it shows the value of the content, but also it's reviewed and approved by scholars. The second one is exploring how school counselors may use bibliotherapy in adolescent Black boys. Next, we see Stay Woke, Davies, connecting all Black girls. The next one, reading trauma as an intergenerational phenomenon. So I hope you like to work out this more scholarly content for you to review on your own. This was written by Hossein Abdul, published in the Open Access Journal of Behavioral Science and Psychology. The other one, Stay Woke, published in the Journal of Race, Ethnicity, and Politics. And as I mentioned, I've written over 80 books, ebooks, 65 podcasts, and over 50 YouTube journals episodes. Five of the books were required for my PhD program. They were approved by Walden University and went through the same process. Each one contains at least 100 to 200 peer-reviewed scholarly journal references. That's what these are examples of. Thing, an unpublished article called How Consumers React to Woke Advertising, Methodological Triangulation Based on Social Media Data and Self-Report Data. So this is material engagement. There's scholarly research to back it up. And it's not just Essence Magazine, nor is it just Cecily's fantasy. It's based on solid data and solid research. I want to give her credit. I want to help support her efforts to spread this new method of looking at reading materials to help enhance and uplift us all. Journal of Research and Interactive Marketing. The next article, Salosky, titled Masculinity, Cancel Culture, and Woke Capitalism, Exploring Twitter Response to Brendan Leipzig's Leaked Conversation, published in the International Review for Sociology of Sport. And since this is the NBA All-Stars weekend and the Rams just won, I think it's relevant to have an article about sports. The next one, published by Sanchez, titled A Season for Listening. Melville and Wharton offer perspective on pandemic reading practices, published in ESQ, a journal of 19th century American literature and culture. So again, we want to make sure that we get the high points, we stay woke. We've already taken 53 minutes of your time, but we want to make sure we touched on the climate issues as it ebbs and flows, but it never goes away. So you can look at this and imagine possibly our oceans. You can look at this and imagine perhaps oil and other resources that are limited, but it keeps on flowing. So our Devil's Gate Reservoir is the environmental issue here in the Pasadena area. It's also named after the local Indian culture, First Peoples. I think it's Hahamonga. That was an area as a child I hiked in. There's if you look at my cursor on this left part of the screen, there was a park where we did camping. I understand it was abandoned, but there's a 20-year effort, over 20-year effort to deal with the pollution, the trash, the pileups that the Public Works, LA County Public Works, is dealing with. So now we've raised the local issues. Let's play a quick game of Read Woke and then we'll be done for now. Thank you for your patience. Let's pull up another card. Get your card on the website, and I'm going to read from this. Ready, set, go. So, Being Jazz. If you get that, mark it off. The next one, Monday's Not Coming. And these Read Woke titles on the Read Woke bingo for grown folks, these are suggested titles that reflect a little bit more diversity. So I'm giving this to you to do some research, find out what these are about. The next one, Girl Man's Up. Mark it with an X in case you need instruction on how to play. Just look at my YouTube video, which covers the world and has billions and billions of viewers. The next one, The Good Braver. Let's mark that off with an X. I like this one. I Am Malala. I mentioned it on the sample video because Malala was shot in the head by people who did not think a girl should be educated. And she survived. She did well and she graduated with honors from a major English university, either Oxford or Cambridge, and she's still going. I just love that story. But let's finish this. We're at 156. Hidden Figures. Let's mark that because that became a very well known movie about African American women in the space race, which reminds me of my work at Jefferson Laboratory. Red Nation, let's mark that. Children of Blood and Bone, let's mark that. And last but not least, Dear Martin, let's mark that. So if you get your X's all the way across, you're a winner. But if you really want to play bingo, you keep calling these out until the whole card is full. Let's do one more. The 57 bus. Let's mark that again. I want to remind our viewers that we're doing this to honor our culture, our history, and what matters. The Tougaloo Nine are also part of the celebration because if you didn't know, they were arrested in Mississippi. I believe Tougaloo, Mississippi, when a group of students went into the white segregated library under Jim Crow and were sitting there reading and they were arrested and told to leave the library. They were escorted out by the police and they said, go down the street to the colored library. So, again, thank you for joining the chat. This is being recorded. You'll receive a copy. I'll post it on my website. I want to show that to you briefly. Feel free to send me an email if you have questions. I want to show you the website. You can send me an email or go to the website itself, and it's Phyllis's Second Wind com. We waited a little bit patiently for our viewers. We still have a few minutes to go, but I want to browse you quickly through the website because not only as a small business entrepreneur, those of you who may have forgotten, we wear many hats. So, as the webmaster, I've worked diligently on creating this experience, and any suggestions or ideas that you have would be greatly appreciated. So, again, I shared a lot. I want to share my website just to show you what the screen looks like. And thank you so much. I covered science, health, environment, and relevant history, including the inventor of the light and blood plasma, Charles Drew. And you'll see more. This is the cover page. If you go to my website, you'll see Phyllis's Second Wind captures moments that matter. And we've had a few moments here to go through, but I mentioned I encourage you just browse City of Hope. I have several scholarships for youth, even though my audience, my writing audience, is for adults over 21. I have a number of these benefits, scholarships that can be helpful for youth. Call City of Hope if you want to learn more about their scholarships. This is a picture of the U.S. Foreign Service Journal. I worked with them, and I have a series of ads that were published. On the right, you see a picture of me in West Africa in the market. When I was out and about, I had my hair cornrowed, and now I'm doing most things, many things from the couch. But it all matters. On the left, you'll see this gentleman is an Australian Aborigine. So if you look at the book Steam, as I showed you before, you might wonder, why is he here? Well, he's part of the ancestry of the flight attendant in the third short story. I made these short and sweet, and if you want to learn more, just read about it. Because Kira Alente is looking into a tray of crystal champagne flutes, starting on page 20 of Steam, a shorts anthology. But if you look at this gentleman, she's Australian Aborigine, and nobody knows. So this is a picture of Kira in first class. Well, I think we've reached our time limit. Divers with a Purpose. We have the ladies from Hidden Figures. Just thank you for joining me. If you have questions, we have some benefits, scholarships to help the youth, and also warning, let the public know there's a Metro Florida enforcement program. They're taking pictures of you out there driving. Beware. We have pictures from the African American photo exhibit that was organized by W.E.B. Du Bois from Howard University, including the Pharmaceutical Laboratory. Science, Technology Matters, yes, from 1900. So if you have anyone that says, no, there's nothing there, that's not true, because we have pictures, we have evidence, and we have first hand eyewitnesses to testify that, yes, we've been here all along over 500 years, and that's the whole point, is to celebrate our voices, make sure that we have educated, woke community. If you click on these pictures, I've embedded some additional information. For example, on this, as far as the Chastain, Alabama, that's part of my current research to find out if there's any remnants of the town that was founded by my ancestors. So for now, thank you for joining me. I think what I'll do is close. Feel free to browse the website. If you have questions, just send me an email. I will get back to you as soon as possible, and keep in touch. I have my books on the website. You can purchase, join us for any other events, and tell a friend. I know people are busy, so I want to make it short and sweet, but there's a lot of information here, and I hope you can make good use of it as we continue to celebrate culture, our contributions, and our continuing hard work. And remember, those anesthesiologists are looking out for you, and there are some that even think about the environment. So I'll close for now. Thank you for joining. We're 2 minutes over. We'll do better next time, but thank you again for joining me on this Second Wind presentation. You have a great day and a great President's Weekend, because we did have some major leadership accomplishments. I highlighted this. Actually, I could go on, but I won't. But I did visit the Expo 2020 virtually every day, and I continue. And I found the representative, the leadership in Costa Rica is an African American female, and I have this slide where she made a presentation in the Women's Pavilion, which to me is a major accomplishment. I was on the East Africa desk and Middle East desk, and I never imagined that I'd see the day that there would be such an accomplishment, and I encourage and applaud the advancements to continue because it benefits all. Exclusion does not make sense, and the fact that these women have created this in conjunction with partnership with Cartier is amazing. So again, thank you very much. This is Phyllis with my Second Wind, second Woke 2 series, and come back for more. Browse my website. I'm constantly making changes, and what we'll do is just close this out. You have a great day. And again, thank you. Stay safe, stay well, and just keep on moving ahead. Time for another stretch break. Thank you very much. And don't forget, get your short steam and one or any or all of the other 80 books that I personally wrote, researched, physically attended the conferences, conducted the interview, and I have the documentation. These were approved by the university, and I'm moving forward and applying this knowledge worldwide. So thank you. Have a great day.